Welcome again to the lecture. It was added to the course on the date of 12 of the year 2023, so that there were new developments during this year in dealing with FRP protection for Samsung devices. Consequently, we have added this lecture to the course so that we can continue as we are used to adding any developments that take place and know the latest developments that you wish. Any new lectures that will be added to the course will be in a walk. Follow up to developments, concepts, and operations in the correct order, which helps you to understand quickly, as well, what remains of new developments that happened. Boss, Pasha. The topic understands good and the sequence of operations, so let me start with you with a clear and concept sequence, and we divide the topic in stages and walk with some stage and in the first stage. I want to start with the old devices, which have low levels of protection, so you could overplay the protection of the FRP on DID devices through the smalls. You can use it and walk with it manually and without the need to use any tools or even without you using a computer at all. After that, the matter developed and increased the levels of protection on the devices, and it is not possible to intervene on the browser and use smalls without a computer. Consequently, then we moved to the second stage to deal with FRP protection after the smalls were closed, and here the advantage of supporting protection was revealed in the position of DLOD for some Samsung models on the tolls, which was not strong modern models. Most of them had Qualcomm processors, and Exynos processors were not over and did not have a modern protection, as we see now, and it was the process of surpassing protection. Supported to most of the software, especially the professional products to deal with Samsung Zaid 3 XXXX and other products, but with the updates of protection levels and the descent of new models for the market, the small locks that were present in the versions and models that missed were brought up. Consequently, we moved to the third stage, which is the stage of exploitation. This happens using the various software tools, whether paid or free, because most of the free tools remain support for the browser opening feature. Next, you are able to connect the mobile to the computer, occupy any tool you have. After that, the mobile browser will open with you, and after that you can complete the regular steps of skipping that you are used to when the process was working on different Samsung models. It is still working with some models that are few models, but as usual, protection levels have been updated on the new and old models, and the smallest closed has been closed. I did not keep the browser to occupy the way this is on most modern models, which they have in high protection. Next, we move to the stage after that, which is the stage of operating the list of services on the mobile, then exploiting a small in the system, and write some at orders for the mobile, through which we can do the USB debugging errors. After activating the ADB mode on the mobile through the AD orders, we can be able to overcome protection easily. The orders of the ET were asked, which was in a series of videos of the software mobile operations analysis. This method is one of the best and fastest ways to warn of Samsung devices and is supported by almost all software products, including free tolls. It was updated in terms of the descent of modern versions and pricks, but not all models are supported because not all models can occupy the list of services on them. As usual, with the update of protection on the existing devices and the descent of new models and phones. Therefore, you will not be able to do the ADP mode in this way by using at orders, and what we said was that this process was standing and then speaking to support the new protection. If you allow SIB, who is in your hands and focus with me now, we are in the month of 12. But all the modern devices and which have to protect it before the month of 6. The smallest will find it an ordinary work on it, but the most recent devices, which are on them with newer protection agencies, have Android publications 13, and at the top, the smalls were closed to them. This will be most of the smalls that have been closed on modern devices, which are with high protection agencies, and therefore this transmits us to the stage after that, which is the stage of direct dealing with mobile processors. In the sense of Samsung mobile phones with different types of processors, the most important of which are MTK processors, Qualcomm processors, and Excel processors. And some simple models were downloaded and had the processing processors, meaning the models that have MTK processors, so they deal with them on this basis. And we will work for it to be overcome in a normal way on Tools software, which supports the MediaTek devices in general by the brew mode. And the use of MTK client libraries to deal with the devices, delete protection, open a bootloader, or make forms for them, and you can intervene to connect a processor to the processor. Through regular delivery, pressure on the audio lighter, or connecting the test point on the mobile button. We will talk in detail about everything related to MTK processors and methods that they reach in the part of the course, which is the MediaTek processors. I was in a full video on my YouTube channel, explaining how to use Source MTK client with Android MediaTek devices. With the consent of the video with the lecture, if you would like to see it, as usual, with the successive security speeches, a smaller was close to the Perum situation, but then a small period was exploited by a second smaller. To deal with MTK processors by putting prelay. Thus, we returned again, the situation, browser, and most of the tools are currently supporting dealing with FRP protection for modern Android models, including Samsung models, by placing browser, and this is the first way to deal with FRP protection. For MediaTek devices, which is direct dealing with the processor, but with a new loudness and a new feeding, it is a FRP protection reserved for MediaTek devices in the position of loud flaring, the old second stage. It was now updated and remains supported by the computer protection. You can take advantage of the software tools for Android devices in general and MediaTek devices, especially because you are as soon as you will open the bootloader, so that you can after that you do any process at your comfort. Without any restrictions, whether you are planned to protect, format, flashing, write, or any other process, because you will be the protection of the protein. On the system and for Samsung MediaTek devices, in a very important information you must know or must take your mind from it because it determines whether it is useful at all work in the mobile that is with us or not, and will we be able to overcome the protection on it. Along MediaTek uniforms, and we will not be able to be in a position of me or in a Lauder's wild position, which is that we first have to enter the mobile to put the countries. We see the condition of the accommodations on it, such as the FRP protection and KG protection or other protections. But most importantly, we see the condition of the protection CRTL protection, because this protection appears in two lines. If the protection is your back with one number, it means that the Perum placing is a normal mobile phone and you can use the smallest and work to overcome protection with your comfort and without any problems by placing Perum, but if it is 0, it means that the Perum smaller is locked on the mobile and it is not possible to reach the conditions of the processor's delivery, whether through regular delivery or even using the test point. Take care of you and focus always in the event of protection and you are working in Samsung MediaTek devices. Okay. This is completely for MTK devices. Then we can delete the protection on the Tools software that supports Qualcomm processors. Of course, as usual, Qualcomm processors have higher protections than the protections that are on MediaTek processors. Consequently, you will not find all the models and protections supported on the Tools software for Samsung Qualcomm devices, but it is an important way in solution of solutions that you can try. This is for Samsung Qualcomm devices, but in other devices from Samsung to download, it has the processes of Exynos and the processors of Samsung and its own development. Perhaps we are dealing directly with the Exynos processors on Samsung devices, so we need to enter the mobile to the processor's position, which is AUP, which is an abbreviation for Exynos USB booting. We can connect the mobile phones with AUP mode by connecting the test point on the mobile button. Of course, pictures and location of the pipe point changes from the second model. The protections are bypassing, operating for it, or the riber, or performing any other process, and the most famous tools that deal with Samsung X6 devices. In AOP mode, it is a camera tool that supports many operations in AOP mode and also supports the transfer from the regular dual LOD mode to AOP mode, which is the processor mode. This is for the processing processors, but we also have the devices that have processing processors, and this number is not large compared to the other models, which I have given to the MTK processors. And you and the Alexans and the models on which SPD processors are rarely dealt. This is the delivery of the processing processors and is considered the easiest to deal and the least protection of the other processors. And the countries of the most important conditions of direct delivery with mobile processors to deal with Samsung's good devices again. But before we continue, it is possible that someone can ask me and say what is already beneficial to the situation, and why do we originally need that we use the conditions of delivery of the processors and we do not work in regular ways. Boss, Pasha, and if you allow me, focus with me, and I will talk about Samsung devices specifically times, and you are working with a mobile phone or by talking to him, or even you are working for him, or by writing root and recovery files, or doing any repair for him, so you can work the mobile separates from you and loses the bot areas. Consequently, then it will not open, and it will not work naturally in systems, and it will not enter with you to put a elated one again in a normal way using the sound keys because it lost the bot area and the boots, and in this case this. We need that we are communicating with the mobile processor directly because we do not enter the regular delivery mode, like elated LOD, or the hands of it and other conditions. And when we communicate directly with the therapist, we can get the mobile phone, or we do not have a riber for the bot area, or we write to him any files, or even let it go out and disable from the processor status. This is in the event that it was suspended on the processor mode, and we can do most of this process by connecting the paste of the mobile on the mobile phone and then connecting the mobile to the processor mode. Without the need for Gynek boxes, such as EasyGet, UFI, or many other complexes, it means the conditions of the processor that help us in some important cases. This reviving some mobile phones, which lost the bots of the bot on El Safet, and I say some models, because in models that are not tired of the barrier through the conditions of the processor, and therefore the devices are to work on the JTAG thumb. In order to work for her, riber works for her and write PL and PIT files, and it will be connected. This is with regard to direct delivery lights with Samsung and embarrassing devices processors and overcoming protections through them, and I currently want you to focus only in the information that I told you in the lecture. Because during the parts of the course that come, we will speak in detail and benefit more from MediaTek processors, Qualcomm processors, and the spray, and there will be many lectures in it. With all these processors. Okay, we will go back to our topic, which is the subject of updating protections, and as usual, after that, in months, the levels of protection and protection trees were increased, and some of the smalls that were exploited by the tolls were closed. To overcome protections, and for MediaTek devices, we have not said that most of the tolls are currently supporting a fortified and overcoming protections for MTK devices, whether in dual LOD or in the processor mode. Whether Perum or Pirate are in almost the same words apply to spurred devices because most of them are old models or their protection are not high, but the problem remains. You will be in the Calicom and Exynos devices, because after increasing the protection patch, some files can change, the most important of which is the Persis file. This is for Android Qualcomm devices in general, whether Samsung, Huawei, Xiaomi, or any brand Qualcomm. the topic remained more difficult for the ads for the agencies, and all the small ones are almost close to it, and as usual, we transferred to the stage after that. It is that you use tools online to embarrass and skip FRP protection for Samsung costumes, SAM FRP tool, some similar tools and programs. And who can be charged with a specific number of credit, and it differs according to the same length, and after that, you record entry on the tool, pressing on a WISE, and overcoming protection. Then the tool works online with the server, then it is improved and the protection is over. Work on the programs that do not different levels and protection pants or Android version, because all the protection pads are supported. But at the present time, most of the programs and tools have stopped working, especially the FRP servers, and this is not the first time to happen because it happened with tools and programs before that, like a complex tool, which was providing the same service. But suddenly, I stood up from work, and that she was shipped with a lot. I went to him. Because this programs can stand at any moment and all the creatures on you will go to you and you will not benefit from it, and the same thing happened now and limit the date of uploading this video. In a second solution, you can try it after the tool's FRP stops, which is that you are working on the mobile phone for a flash with the same protection, but on an older date. And after the again, I will try the youngsters that we promised during our journey in the stages that have passed, but of course operations. It has the foundations and rules that you need to walk on, and we explained it in detail in the video that missed it, before any downager operation is known, and you understand what you do. Okay, just now the program stood up and the operations of the downadides are not a result of the result and the childhood is closed, or you are, for example, I do not find a flash on the oldest date of the mobile with you. In this case, and after stopping all the smalls and not supporting tulips during the stages that missed it, he will transfer us to another and the most important stage, and who always is working. Because this stage will not differentiate with it with protection or Android versions in Barra, which is either the use of the remote service online to warn of protection or use JTAG boxes. Delete and overcome protection for the online service, a different friend, Shui, from the toll that we said in the stage that missed. And most of the time is the service that is working and does not stand a lot, but it is not the most time that its prices will be sweet and stable, this during the period, and after the toll's FRB stops, as we said, the price of the service is very increased. And he arrived that the one mobile was $20 in currently, and the date of the video is the price of the dollar in Egypt is £50, meaning one mobile. It may cost within the limits of £1,000, and this is a price. But the need of a person who has experience in dealing with Jayager sexes, and it is also better that he is industrial on a hardware, so that he can flee the ISP points on the mobile phone with Craftsman. The Google account is deleted from the mobile. This is the stages that the FRP operations went through with the Samsung devices during the year that missed and the developments and updates that were done on them. Can someone ask me and tell me, does it mean that all the smalls were closed during the stages? Thus, any mobile phone, I will not be able to exceed its protection, except by server or JTAG. I will tell you, of course, because this talk applies to modern models, which are still descending security updates, and thus in the new protection party, closing any young ones that existed before that. But this does not mean for it that applies to all the models in the market, because the market is full of in all forms and types of devices, whether it is possible or modern. Without using any tolls or computer, and you will enter you with other devices that you will open the browser through tolls or do ADB mode. Then you go beyond protection or delete them on Boxat and Boxat programs that deal with the processor direct. From a stage to the other, to understand the development that took place during the period that missed, and accordingly, when a mobile phone, you begin to work and try the smalls. and come out and you work from it from one stage to the other. Finally, it is possible that someone can ask me and tell me, is this salvation, so all the young are close to modern devices and models? I will tell you this can happen for some time, but of course, it will not happen all the time, because the history tells us, and also as we have seen during the stages in which many small sheets appeared, and after that, you closed and it has small, because you appear as you did not see. We are in many stages and small segments, and all that is closed by a young man with a new younger or exploiting a new process. Because during the next period, surely, the search for new smalls will be searched, and the tolls and the boxes will begin to support modern protection with their new updates that will come down, even if a new younger appears. Certainly, you will go down with a new protection, stop the smalls, and we will always be walking in the stages all the time. I am currently wanting to focus on the sequence of the stages and understand it so that you can come out of every lecture and from every part of the course and you understand what you do and you have a set of concepts and terms that you will need after that. And let us complete our words and explain in the video that comes, God willing, peace.